Welcome to the Healing Heart podcast, where all healing is always a matter of the heart. I'm your host, Donna Campbell, also known as the Mind Whisperer, interviewing guest experts on all matters of healing. All right, everybody, welcome back here to the Healing Heart podcast. And I am so thrilled for my next guest because she is originally from France and she moved to North Carolina at the age of 19 to be a nanny. But her life changed after that, and she's been a lifelong learner. She pursued her education in emergency medical services, and she's been a paramedic for 17 years, obtaining her critical care paramedic certification along the way. And eventually she became a full-time educator and an EMS coordinator for a training program for over 7 years. Now, the mental health crisis emerging from the COVID pandemic, especially the outraging depression and suicidal rate in the pediatric population, created a pivoting, energetic, awakening transition into her life. Now, her passion is to better understand the connection between neuroscience, mindset, wellness, and personal growth that led her to the field of energy healing and coaching, which is why she is here with us today. So she's participated in multiple personal growth seminars led by mentors such as Tony Robbins, Lauren LaHave, and Brendan Bouchard. But in addition to still being a field paramedic, she is now a level 2 Reiki, a brain health license trained through Dr. Amen University programs, and a realignment coach. So she uses a holistic approach to wellness to promote and empower mind and body coherence, which you guys know here at the Healing Heart podcast, we absolutely love because it's always about aligning your heart space with your mindset. But now today, she works with clients to focus on that realignment, that intuitive awareness, unveiling and addressing subconscious blocks and creating positive shifts towards a path of healing and personal growth. So everyone here, just give Cindy Brown a warm welcome. And welcome to the Healing Heart podcast, Cindy.
Hi, Donna. How are you? That's so sweet. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
And I'm excited for you to be here as well. And I want to ask, you came here to be a nanny, and then you've been an EMS service provider for such a long time, but you had that pivotal shift and that pivotal moment of your own transformation going, wait a minute, something about this in this world isn't right. So share with us some of the things that you went through in your own personal healing transformation.
It's been a journey. Through EMS, we see everything. We see all kind of things from birth to death, which has been an incredible topic to see all of it. And the rise of depression and mental mindsets, and it's just kind of been going up and up a little bit, even pre-COVID. But when COVID hit and the kids had to stay at home and that social separation from other kids and being closed at home, it just ramped things up. And we saw more and more kids either just being shut down or overly explosive on the outside. And then the rate of suicide in the kids just hit us hard. It hits the family, it hits the neighborhood, it hits the school, it hits the providers responding to the calls, on top of all the stuff we had to deal with. And the more I saw it as COVID went on, my child ended up having difficulties with that. And when it hits on a daily basis at work, and I was training students at the time during COVID, which was quite challenging. I saw the students and the adults and the kids and then in my house, and I had to reach out to other people because since it's my house, I was part of the problem too. So I could not help my kid as much as what I hoped that I would have. And it was a reality. It just hit hard. And I was like, I've got to do something. Where is the disconnect? Why is it happening? How can we help them? And I found myself in a situation I couldn't help my kid directly because I was so ingrained into his environment as well. So I had to seek out, and it led me to, I want to save all the kids. My bigger mission, and people are like, it's impossible. I'm like, says who? I want a world when pediatric suicide are not in the same sentence. We should not have that. We created this environment. Like, what is going on? And it led me on this search. I was like, I've got to find something. And the weird solution came out as I needed to start taking care of me. Because if I want to save all the kids, first I can't, but I can reach a bunch of moms.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, the disconnect starts with kind of like all of us. I was like, we are breaking pieces of ourselves, our physical health, or mental health, or emotional health, or spiritual health, and we put them in boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And working in EMS, we're really good at compartmentalizing. Like, this goes in the box and deal with this. This goes in the box, deals with it. And we're broken pieces, and we're not oneness anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I was like, it just led me on this journey.
Yeah.
For my kid, but for all the kids, but weirdly for myself. And I was like, whoa, I'm broken too. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like in pieces myself. So now I want to help I'm doing so much better. My kid is doing so much better, and he's empowering kids around him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can hear the words that he says to other kids. I'm like, oh my gosh, if we help ourselves, we can help our kids, and they can help themselves. And I want to keep growing with this and help other people on this journey.
So it's really a life-changing, a life transformational set of moments for you. And one of the things that I think about here on the Healing Heart podcast is that all healing is a matter of the heart. And it's really about creating that beautiful space and that beautiful heart space. And you saw this go around you, all around in the world. How did it change your heart space before COVID, after COVID? Yes, wanting to help children, your child, all of those things. But how did your own personal heart space shift and change?
I think two main concepts. I had to reconnect with my own mind and body, so my physical, and coming to hearts, my emotional, because I had covered and silenced a lot of stuff I never dealt with, whether it's from my own past or whether it's from calls that we go through. And I was disconnected. My mind body was disconnected. And what it disconnected was my heart, my own emotion, even though I thought I was doing good. But turns out I was disconnected to my own emotions. Yeah. And so I got into Reiki. Reiki got into my life. I'm not quite sure. We're probably always
totally synchronistic.
Yeah. And somebody had told me for years, like, you need to go call my friend Suzanne. I was like, yeah, for 5 years. I was like, yeah, sure. And then one day when my kid was so depressed and so down, I reached out to that person. I was like, you still have Suzanne's number? Because I was at the bottom, and I was like, I need an answer. And I did that first Reiki session, and I was like, whoa, what happened? And she connected me with my emotion. And I think I always thought I was hard connected, but it was superficial. That whole COVID went several layers deeper. And when she clicked that Reiki energy into me, I was like, what is that? I'm a paramedic. I stick needles into people and tube, and I'm like, you don't touch me. It's like, whoa, all kind of stuff happened. And that connection reopened this whole alignment. First, I had to put my pieces together. And then intuitional awareness came into my life. I was like, whoa, that intuition of we internally know when we are aligned, it's intuitional awareness, it's emotional connection. Yes. And we disconnect ourselves emotionally to protect ourselves because we don't know what to do, because we don't know who to talk to, because we don't know how it's going to be received. It's scary. It's vulnerable, even to ourselves. I was lying to myself. Yeah. Like, I had self-conversation. I was like, whoa, I'm not even telling myself my own truth. How can I help other kids if I don't even tell my own truth? So that all shifted into reconnected with emotion and intuitional awareness. And that's what I really focus on when I work with people. Where is their intuition leading them? That's their life, their path. Kids are so much more intuitive than we let them on. And if we just support and embrace that, they are connected to their hearts. They have their intuition. But most of the world just shuts that down and puts them into boxes and lines. And they lose their creativity, they lose their intuition, they lose their power, and they become like less themselves. And it's like, if we can get them back the other way and empower them, they have that intuition, to
Right.
have that energy, and it feeds me. It's like, oh my
Right.
gosh, when I see a kid, you can feel their vibration. It's kind of like, I'm like, whoa. It just makes me shake thinking about it, because they are the power source, like, of the next generation of creativity.
Yes.
And it's all about emotions.
It
It's
is.
connection. It's connecting.
It truly is, because it's all about that heart-mind connection, because often we say one thing, but we feel something completely different. And it's bridging that gap into that wholeness. Now, one of the things you mentioned earlier was, especially you said in the EMS world, that we separate and compartmentalize because it's this, and we put them in little tiny boxes. But yet we know energetically the universe is oneness and wholeness, and whatever frequency we are sending out is what comes back. So if you're thinking that, you don't have enough money, then it shows up in all areas of your life where you don't have enough. If you're thinking that emotionally you feel sad, then you see sadness return in all areas of your life, because what you focus on returns, but it also comes through your own perception there. So on your journey, what are some tips or some tools that you've come across to use to really restore yourself back to that wholeness, so you're not fragmented, as you said?
Well, I came up with several. It's not that I can, like, through all the seminars, like, some of the concept kept overlapping. And I was like, there is two concepts that if I'm aware about it, then I can acknowledge it. And one thing is that I believe that life is a magnetic mirror. It's a mirror of who we are inside, and it has this electromagnetic, I mean, that's the heart and the brain, electricity and magnetism. It's got this electromagnetic mirror going on. So when something is going on and I feel disconnected, I need to refocus. I need to, the concept of looking inside and looking outside. And when we're all disconnected, and it still happens every day, I mean, life is a constant trigger of opportunity to learn. When I feel that disconnect, I'm like, where is my disconnect? So I realign with myself. I was like, where is that connection? There is that magnetic mirror going on. And there is and I call that, for me, I call it a resonance link. There's a resonance link between your brain and your heart and your body, your brain and your body, and your spirit and your soul and your brain and your spirit and your heart, and like all four of them. And there's an electromagnetic, chemical, quantum link. And I'm like, I put them two at the two. So I look at my 4 blocks, my physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And I match them 2 by 2, and just using intuitional awareness, I'm like, where is my disconnect? And I put them in order. Like today, which one is my strong one? Which one is my lower? And I connect them. And I'm like, where is the misalignment? You mentioned we feel stuff, but we say other things.
Yes.
So I'm like, where is my disconnect? Is it really what I say was the truth? Sometimes we say something, we're like, oh, I didn't know I meant that. But sometimes we feel something, and when we say the words, you're like, nah, not at all. Like, I know I'm not telling the truth. So I realigned myself to be like, where is my off block? Which one is off balance? And I believe that once we're aware about something, we can do something about it. I did this program with Lauren Lahav, and she asked me something. She's like, where is your identity? Who are you? Like, what do you want? What do you need? What are you looking for? And after reflected on it, I was like, I don't know what I want. She's like, oh, well, what do you need? I'm like, I don't know what I need. And it came to, I don't know who I am. And it came, and it was a hit. I was like, I don't know my own identity, because it shifted. The identity I had pre-COVID shifted during COVID. And I'm still me, growing, evolving, but I'm not the same exact person. And at first it was really hard, but it's the yin and the yang. I don't have to pick and choose. I'm all of it, just evolving. So if we can figure out which one has grown, is it my mental? Is it my physical? Is it my emotional? During COVID, my spiritual and emotional shifted, but they left my mental and physical at lower vibrancy. So I was disconnected with myself. And once you know, once you know, you cannot unknow, it. So
Right.
my spiritual vibe had shifted and my emotional heart went to the darkest place during COVID. All those kids suffering and everything that we saw happening. So, I mean, it was like on a monthly basis. We had kids hurting themselves. It hurts emotionally. So seeing the dark, but it's a mirror. If there is that much dark, there's also so much light.
Exactly.
And I am not afraid to go into the dark because that's where I lived for so long. That's what I did for so long. I'm like, if you have dark spot and you're afraid to go, let me come with you. I was walking the other night because I'm trying to get my walk when I can. And, the light bugs, the little light, the firefly, one was in front of me in the dark walking. And it was, I mean, I have street lights, but it's dark. And this little light bug was like in front of me, just lighting up. And I was like, all we need is a speck of light to brighten things. It's kind of all of a sudden, there it is. We know where to go.
Yeah.
And I want to, if people are in the dark, I just want to be there with them because I'm not afraid of the dark anymore.
Yeah. I love that because the light always, that light always leads the way. And when you're talking, I just think of like all of the different fireflies there. All right, everybody, we are listening to the Healing Heart podcast. My guest today is Cindy Brown, and we are going to take that very quick sponsor break, and we're going to come back and we're going to learn all about the healer archetype, as well as how the veil is getting thinner and how we can use that as healers. So hold on tight. Get what you always wanted. Abundant life is possible. Transform your lifestyle in just weeks with the most innovative system developed for heart-centered business professionals who seek change today. You are one step away from creating infinite prosperity, happiness, and love. Grab your bonus link now that's in the show notes. All right, welcome back to the Healing Heart podcast, where we talk about all things healing, because healing is always a matter of the heart. And my guest today is Cindy Brown, and she is an expert with a lot of the energy transformations that we go through, aligning that heart space and that mindset to create that coherence, to be into oneness. Now, Cindy, what I'm curious about here is, earlier, we had mentioned and talked about what a healer archetype is. And I'm curious, from your point of view, how would you describe that? Because I never heard those two words put together. We have healers, but then we also have all of these different types of archetypes, but I've never considered a healer archetype. So share with us, what do you mean by that?
Well, that was in my search of my own identity as I was like learning to figure out myself and who I am. And as the words didn't come up clearly to me, I went into this church to figure it out. So I fell into the world of archetypes. And I was like, what is that? And that's amazing. So there is this concept as like, we know what it is to be a mom. There is not a book, an explanation, a perfect guide in every country, and everything's going to be different with cultures. But if we say, this is a mom, and you can be in any country and any cultures, there will be a lot of the overlapping that we know what it means. We can say this person is a warrior, this person is a sovereign, this person is the queen, this person is the king, this person is the magician, this person it comes with a set of energetic vibe and values that we know what it is. And there is a healer. And as I'm going through figuring out who I am and I'm reading those archetypes, I'm like, no, yeah, maybe, no. And then some of them's like, whoa, I didn't know, but yes. And I'd never considered myself a healer. But since I'm little, I've always helped other people. I used to be quite the enabler and people pleaser. So that was part of the archetype, going way too into the unbalanced mode. But I've been an educator. I was a tutor even when I was in college, I was tutoring other kids and helping them with that to understand. And then I got into medicine and then paramedics. And the concept was like, oh, I am a healer. Am I? And it was kind of like, it seems too big. Healer, I was like, special. And I'm like, well, what does it mean to be special? And it's just that concept of helping other people heal their wounds. And it can be a physical wound, which to me, I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally do that. I train other people, not a problem. So if it's a physical wound and we consider ourselves a healer, it's like, oh yeah, I help people with, something that hurts. It's physical, we see it, but there's so much more than that. There is the mental healing. There's the emotional healing, all those energetic block that stays inside of our body. Our body doesn't forget. Like we have those internal blocks we never dealt with. And we have spiritual healing. Like we have all of it. And the concept of putting all those pieces together, we cannot go fight a battle if we are broken and healed and wounded. And I'm like, maybe my fight is not to be upfront with the sword. That's not me as much, even though if it's between a dragon and a kid, I will totally come in the middle. So there could be. But as a healer, yeah, I'll stay on the back and help put people back together so they can be stronger and go carry their archetype of whatever they are, because we need all of us.
Yes.
We need interdependence with each other, and that's okay. It's okay to work with each other.
I love that. And I love that we need all of the archetypes because it all works together like pieces of a puzzle to make the big overall picture there. Now, one of the things I'm really curious about, we talked about this off camera a little bit before, is how we as healers see the veil getting thinner. But what does that really mean? And how can it be used to magnify what we do in the healing world?
That was an interesting concept. So my Reiki master is the first one who mentioned the concept of the veil to me. And I was like, what is that? What do you mean? And it's the concept between what we can see into our reality and what we have access to, what we can feel and touch and see, like the colors of the rainbow, but we don't see, the red and the violets, and we don't see those, but they do exist. And the veil is this mesh between what we're capable to concretely kind of see, but what it's out there that does exist that we are not directly physically connected to, but we're still connected to it. And as this veil is getting thinner and thinner, more and more is going through it. So I picture my fingers getting tight and not much going through, and then things are just kind of letting through, letting out, and more is seeping through. Some people are more sensitive than others to it. Some people have been sensitive their whole life, were born like this, their generation are into it. And some people are like, I have no clue what you're talking about. And that's okay, because we need all of it. So it's okay. But as the veil is getting thinner and thinner, once that concept was introduced to me, I was like, oh, as COVID went through, I became more and more sensitive after, even though I've been in the field for close to 20 years now. And I was still doing medical stuff and rescue and things like this, even before I got into EMS. As COVID happened, as the veil got thinner, as I became more aware with myself, those tough calls that I was very good at putting into boxes and doing my paper in my reports, putting a lid on it and pushing it, I could not move past that anymore. Like it just stuck with me, like it resonated more. I felt it more and impacted me more. Like I connected with the patients without really intentionally connecting. It was just happening. And I was like, why is it hitting me? Why am I taking everything so much more personally? Why is it? Oh my gosh, it was harder and harder and harder. And I saw this burnout through COVID, all the paramedics, anybody in EMS, anybody in first responder through COVID, everything shut down. But those guys, they kept on working day and night and hours and shift and shift and shift. And they did it. The world is shut down. And yet 911 was still available. And those guys never took time for themselves, but they were on the forefront as everything got thinner, the emotion got higher. And they connected with them. It just resonated higher. And I saw more and more either getting burnout or like awakening to, and they're like, what is going on? And as I found my way stumbling through a solution for me and sharing that with others, I see more and more healers, but that's first responder, but that's nurses, that's anybody in the medical field, there's anybody working in a hospital and helping. We are shifting and getting more sensitive to it. It can be scary and it can be overwhelming, but they are not alone. There's so many people feeling that same thing, and we can support each other to do that. And it's okay to talk about it because it does exist. I felt it and I could not ignore it anymore. And more people, a friend of mine through paramedics stumbled her way through Reiki a few months ago, and I didn't know about it until like recently. And I was like, good for her. That is really cool.
I love that. And everything that you're sharing, because it's like, as the veil is getting thinner, we are allowing ourselves energetically to open up more, to embrace how we feel, but also realign with the things that matter the most instead of walking around blinded, I suppose. Because we are now experiencing going, oh, wait a minute, I need to do things like this instead of like that, because this isn't right, or I need more self-care, or with all of those things. And I absolutely love it. Absolutely.
I love that you mentioned self-care, because we have not done that as much. Taking care of self-care is so important. Absolutely.
Right. Because our world is such a go, 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 go. We forget how to be in the world there. All right. How do all of our listeners get in touch with you if they want to learn more about what you're doing and how you're helping people in that realignment process?
Right now, I'm doing everything mostly on Facebook and connecting with people, and then just people can just reach out, and then we just see where it leads. And I'm hoping to expand. I'm really excited to work on several projects, and I'll just pass along the information. But right now, everything is going through Facebook for my account.
Okay, perfect. And also, as always, we're going to put all of Cindy's contact information into the show notes. And we are also going to be offering a calendar link. So if you guys wanted to book directly with her to learn more, find out more, and see how she can assist you on your journey back to that wholeness, definitely reach out to Cindy, because she's right on point with everything that she has been sharing. And Cindy, last words.
Be you. There's only one you, and you're the only one who know how to be you the way you are, and we need you. Just be you.
I love it. Be yourself. Yes.
Yes.
And then for everyone else, be you and create that beautiful heart space. All right. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Healing Heart Podcast, and we will see you guys next week.